Alright, so we're going to talk a little bit right now about gun rights. It is a major topic that has been in the news recently a lot, and there are very differing views on the whole thing. But let's start with the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment states, from the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution, states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, we're going to cover right now why the argument that I've heard some people have about the Second Amendment pertains to certain weapons or certain amounts of weapons, that the National Guard is the militia, and also just in general self-defense and safety in having that stuff. So, many people I've heard say that the Second Amendment, back when it was written, only pertained to muskets. With that means because they don't think that the forefathers thought that the technology would ever come around where we'd have anything other than muskets. But at the time, there were the Gatling gun had already been invented. It was a multi-barreled firearm that could fire successive rounds very, very quickly. But also with them saying that the Second Amendment only pertained to muskets, what about, like, to say the free speech? Shouldn't that only pertain to Old English speech and handwritten letters, not internet and Twitter and anywhere else you can just say or do anything else in the world? So the Second Amendment doesn't mention anything about how many weapons it is or what types of weapons is contained. And if you're going to go back and say that it only pertained to certain things, then it should be all across the board, and you can't pick and choose which ones you want to believe and which ones you want it for. And then following that, the well-regulated militia. Many people say that the National Guard is the militia for the United States Army, but the militia can be federally and state run. It is an extension of the Army, and a militia is actually defined as a military force that is raised from the civilian population to supplement a regular army in an emergency. So the National Guard is always available. It is from the civilian populace because our military is a volunteer-only force. But you're signed up for it as an extension of the regular army. It is not to supplement, as the definition for a militia states. So that covers what is talked about in the Second Amendment, is firearms, the right to keep and bear firearms, and a well-regulated militia. Now let's just talk about general safety and self-defense. According to American Police Beat, the average response time for cops all across the nation is 10 minutes. So much stuff can happen in 10 minutes. If someone were to break into your house or try and mug you in your car, there's so much that can happen. And they're not going to wait around for that 10 minutes for you to call the cops and let them show up. With that being said, then you have your gun-free zones. Criminals don't care about gun-free zones. If they're going to do something, many of them will actually target gun-free zones because they know that law-abiding citizens who do carry will not be carrying there because they're law-abiding citizens and won't carry a gun into a gun-free zone. It's just kind of common sense, in my opinion, that gun-free zones don't really stop crime. They just stop the good guys from having the ability to defend themselves and others around them. So let's wrap all of this up into one bit of information. So the Second Amendment starts with a well-regulated militia. Many people said that it's the National Guard, but it's state and federally ran and an arm of the regular army. It is not a supplement. Then we get into the right to keep and bear arms. The Second Amendment does not state anything about the types of firearms to be used that can be kept, or the amount of firearms that could be kept. And then just in general safety and self-defense. takes too long for cops to show up. Gun-free zones don't keep bad guys out. They just keep the good guys from having a gun or something to defend themselves and others with while they're there. So I know it's a hot topic, and I hope this is some information and can help change somebody's mind to supporting the gun rights.